There have been two Republican presidential candidates' debates this week, right? The moment that Newt Gingrich and his supporters are most excited about is the very start of last night's debate.
Mr. Speaker, I want to start with that this evening. As you know, your ex-wife gave an interview to ABC News and another interview at the Washington Post, and this story has now gone viral on the Internet. In it, she says that you came to her in 1999 at a time when you were having an affair. She says you asked her, sir, to enter into an open marriage. Would you like to take some time to respond to that?
No, but I will. I think the destructive, vicious, negative nature of much of the news media makes it harder to govern this country, harder to attract decent people to run for public office, and I am appalled that you would begin a presidential debate on a topic like that.
Presidential debates are stressful events. They are quasi-high-wire acts, right, for all of the candidates, even in the best of times. But on the Republican side, attacking the media is like the net underneath the high wire. If you ever don't want to answer the question, just step off the high wire and fall happily and lazily into that safe, bouncy net that will always hold you. Yelling at the media, blaming the media, never fails before a Republican audience. Even before anybody was taking his candidacy seriously, even before his ex-wife said on the day of this debate, sponsored in part by the National Organization for Marriage, that Newt Gingrich had asked her for an open marriage while he was already cheating on her. Even before all that happened, attacking the media was already Newt Gingrich's best trick at the debates.
Well, I'm frankly not interested in your effort to get Republicans fighting each other. It's sad that the news media doesn't report accurately how the economy works. I just want to raise a point about the news media bias. Everybody in the media, none of it gets covered by the news media. I, for one, and I hope all of my friends up here, are going to repudiate every effort of the news media to get Republicans to fight each other.
Having seen him fall into that net in all of the previous debates, given that history and all the other debates, the only thing I don't understand about what happened last night in this moment that the Newt Gingrich people are so excited about, the only part of it I don't understand is this part.
Would you like to take some time to respond to that?
That's the question. Would you care to talk about this now? The reason Mr. Gingrich's response sounded so awesome is because, I mean, for one thing, yelling at the media is just innately satisfying, right? But also because it's true that there is nothing inherently newsworthy about anybody's sex life, marriages, former relationships, or private sexual behavior. It's not inherently newsworthy. So to not just seem like you're prying, to make clear the newsworthiness of why you're asking somebody about their private sexual morality, you have to say why it is newsworthy and why it is that you're not just prying. So how about this? How about, was it hypocritical of you to lead the impeachment of President Clinton because of his affair with somebody who worked for him while you, too, were having an affair with somebody who worked for you? Or you could say, you have admitted to numerous adulterous affairs, including one with the woman to whom you are now married. Your ex-wife today pointed out to ABC News that while you were cheating on her, you were also giving political speeches accusing Democrats of undermining the institution of marriage. How do you explain that hypocrisy, sir? Or you could say, in this campaign, you've said you would fight for a federal ban on same-sex couples being allowed to get married. How can you justify passing government judgment on other people's marriages when your own marriages are the kind of ethical mess that was described by your second wife on ABC News today? I mean, there's a lot. You could go on, right? I mean, the point is you could ask the question a different way instead of just saying, would you like to take some time to talk about this? I mean, nobody's sex life is anybody else's business unless they are a hypocrite, unless they are demagoguing other people's sex lives to benefit themselves, proclaiming the comparative moral superiority of their own sexual mores. Newt Gingrich, bad husband? Who cares? But Newt Gingrich, hypocritical family values politician? I care. Everybody cares. He is running for president. He is not asking us to share him with Callista, too. But, you know, even if CNN inexplicably gave him this out and put a huge target on their own forehead by not explaining that his hypocrisy is the issue here, even without raising his hypocrisy, it is still a little bit weird that Newt Gingrich believes he should not have to answer this question. Because, frankly, even people who aren't hypocrites on issues like this in a presidential campaign get asked stuff like this. Really, really rude, prurient, personal, provocative questions come up all the time.
Who is Jennifer Flowers? You know her.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know? How would you describe your relationship? She's a legend and is described in some detail in a supermarket tabloid, which she calls a 12-year affair with you.
In recent days, we have learned that 4 different women have accused you of inappropriate behavior. You know that shareholders are reluctant to hire a CEO where there are character issues. Why should the American people hire a president if they feel there are character issues?
The first question goes to Governor Dukakis. You have 2 minutes to respond. Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
What you would say if your daughter was ever in a position where she might need an abortion.
As president, would you be submissive to your husband?
In presidential campaigns, questions like this get asked. They even sometimes get asked in a competent way. So, listen, maybe CNN face-planted on the way they asked this question last night. Remember, the specific question put to Mr. Gingrich was, would you like to respond to that? The answer? No. Duh, right? Seriously, that's why you put it to him? But eventually somebody will competently ask Newt Gingrich this question about his arch moralistic hypocrisy. And the question will have to be answered, which is why I hope that this campaign never ends. It just finds a way to disrupt the space-time continuum and go on forever and ever and ever. Joining us now, fresh off the plane from the power and the glory of South Carolina, is New York Times columnist Gail Collins. Gail, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here. You want it to go on forever? Really? Not really forever. Really.
I sort of want this moment in the South Carolina contest to go on forever. I feel like we're either in hyperspeed or time has stopped because so much is happening all at once. And each thing feels like it's epic. Each thing tells such a major story about these candidates and our politics and where we're at.
Okay, Rachel, if you really want to last forever. Okay,
you disagree. You're ready for it to be over?
I'm ready for it to move along a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you feel like we're stalled on?
Well, right now we're stalled in the South Carolina primary. We're stalled on sort of, are we going to give in and have Mitt Romney or not? I mean, that's sort of the basic question. But I'm always good for a good sex scandal. You know, that's my point in life, really.
Do you feel like the inevitability of Mitt Romney is becoming more evitable? Do you feel like it's in question?
I sort of actually don't still. I don't. No. I truly don't. Because it's like at the end, it's like the Idaho caucus will happen. All these things out there that you have to plan for, and they're not popular votes, and they'll happen, and Newt Gingrich doesn't have a clue. So
I feel like the reason that Mr. Romney still feels like he's got the nomination is his to lose is because it does not seem plausible for any of his rivals to actually win.
True that.
And so, I mean, if that is the constraining factor on what we can imagine about the future of this primary, does that mean that we should start thinking outside the box, that we should start thinking that there will be a third-party person, there'll be somebody joining late, there will be some... I mean, Mitt Romney seems like a bad nominee.
Getting worse and worse. But yeah. I find it sort of touching, this vision that the Republican wise men are going to get together in somebody's basement or something and bring Jeb Bush into the race, and that will save the day. There's nobody out there, and there's no way, and no. I mean,
it's just done.
I think it's pretty done, but it certainly is hanging on longer than I thought it would be. I mean, who would have thought the Iowa caucus, that Rick Santorum won the Iowa caucus? That was pretty good, really.
Although at this point, maybe in another 2 weeks, maybe Mitt Romney will have won. I mean, the Iowa Republicans don't know who won.
No.
And they've decided that it doesn't really matter to them that they don't know who won. Right. And so they said nobody won, or it cannot be determined who won. And then the Iowa State Republican Party chairman went on the radio that day and said, actually, Rick Santorum won. And then he did a press conference later in the day and said, no, nobody won.
And then these guys are going to come back in 4 years and say, oh, no, the Iowa caucus must be first, even if it's in December, because we are such a great proving ground for democracy in Iowa. That's pretty wonderful.
Speaker Gingrich's ex-wife doing an interview about him cheating on her, lying to her, asking for an open marriage. all the while he was giving speeches on the sanctity of marriage. That comes out on the day of the debate that is co-sponsored by the National Organization for Marriage.
Oh, irony of irony.
And this turns out to be a good thing for him?
Yeah, you would almost think, looking at that beginning, as if he had had all those affairs and all those ruined marriages just so that moment could happen, that it was some great cosmic plan on his part, that he's been cheating on all his wives just so at that moment on CNN he could do that. That's my thought.
He has turned it. Gail Collins, New York Times columnist, when the South Carolina primary sadly does end, time and the gods of politics will have you to thank for it, because if they had me to thank for it, it would go on forever.
Anytime.
Gail, thank you. All right.